Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, Artemi Panarin is an LA King. For those who didn't see, Artemi Panarin has been traded from the New York Rangers to the LA Kings in exchange for a conditional third-round pick, a conditional fourth-round pick, and A-tier prospect Liam Greentree. But there was no extension with the trade, although Panarin was clearly able to talk with the Kings about an extension because when he got there, he very promptly signed a 2-year, 11 million AAV extension with LA, like within an hour or two of the trade being announced.
Yeah.
Burundi, what are your thoughts on Panarin being a King?
I said it. I threw LA out there before they were even in the mix. They weren't really one of the rumored teams at the time.
I had them not on my radar at all until you mentioned it. As soon as you did, it was a perfect fit. But until then, I wasn't thinking about them.
I mean, it's a good deal for the Kings in the sense of, I guess you might as well go for it. And it's not like you gave up anything super valuable long term. Again, I think Liam Greentree is a good prospect, but what level does he get to? I'm not entirely sure.
Because I've been I don't know, kind of a B+ prospect up until
that's kind of where
I saw some of his numbers the other day.
That's kind of where I have him, is that B+ range, either a very, very high end third liner or a really solid second line winger, kind of somewhere in there, I think. Probably more third line, just simply because he is going to the New York Rangers, and while they don't have the best history of developing high profile players, so it's not very good for Greentree going to the Rangers. But
it's not a great look for him.
Yeah, but for LA again, Kopitar's done after this year, and are you starting to tear it down to the studs because you haven't really been able to have any sort of playoff success in the last, what is it? They haven't won a round since 2014, since they won the Cup.
Really?
So,
if they faced the
kept
Oilers
trying
this year, would that be year 4 or 5 at this point? How many years have they faced him in a row?
I think this would be I think it's been the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's only been 3 so far. But again, the Kings aren't. They didn't, trade their first round pick, and in the off chance they maybe miss the playoffs.
Not giving up a first for Panarin. It's not bad. Most teams would have guaranteed they'd have to, right?
And yes, they didn't give up anything from the roster, but you did mention that, Panarin, to a lot of people,
it is already 4 years in a row.
It is 4.
It's already 4 in a row against the Oilers.
So maybe a fifth
if
year.
If they did this year, it'd be 5th.
But you mentioned, Panarin not going for a first round pick, like many people, especially Rangers fans. It's pretty wild to go and look at some of their mock trades that they had for Panarin, and like when it was rumored he was going to San Jose, and the majority of the mock trades were William Eklund, Michael Misa, and a first, and it's like, no, like that, it was just unrealistic. But when you
do the Sharks do Michael Misa 1-for-1? Probably not.
No.
Like
the New York Rangers asked, Chris Drury asked Washington for Ryan Leonard, because obviously got very close ties to Gabe Perreault, who they have, and then they asked San Jose for Will Smith, and I think they were just 1-for-1 deals for Panarin, or a part of a package, and San Jose and Washington were quick to be like, no, like, we're not doing that.
So Panarin doesn't play to the Rangers, I will say, getting those guys with that built-in chemistry, I could applaud them for trying.
But it obviously wasn't
going to happen.
Yeah. And then, they don't get a first-round pick. They do get Liam Greentree, who Chris Drury is obviously very high on and likes those type of players. But you almost start to wonder if now this changes the way contract negotiations are going to go forward in terms of when you're signing a player to a long-term deal, and do you give him that no movement clause at the end of the contract now, or we're starting to see some teams, but it's not with the high profile guys, but it's the first, say, an 8-year deal. The first 6 years is like a full no movement clause, and then the last 2 years it's some kind of modified no trade clause.
Yeah,
and I applauded
Panarin.
Teams are
gonna move to that.
Yeah, and I applauded Panarin when we were talking about the rumors and whatnot last week, because he was giving lots of options. But as we find out in the end, he was only willing to go to LA. So were the reports that he was willing to go to Tampa, to Florida, San Jose, Anaheim, Carolina, Dallas, were those real? Or was that kind of Panarin just helping the Rangers, being like, I'm not going to go here, but use it as leverage to get the most that you can out of LA? Because apparently in the end, LA was the only team he was willing to waive to be traded to.
I don't think that was the only team he was willing to go to. I think that's the only team where they could get a deal done that he was willing to go to. Like, it sounds like Florida was out on him real early because they just couldn't make the money work. And it sounds like Tampa wasn't even entertaining the idea of an extension at any number. They were like, this would be a pure rental. And then at that point, Panarin was like, okay, well then I won't waive to go there if I'm not getting an extension. So it sounded like Florida and Tampa just didn't have enough interest.
I don't think it's fully. It came down to LA being able to get the extension done, because Seattle apparently had a very good offer on the table for Panarin that the Rangers liked, and
Seattle's
offered
not Panarin, a playoff team though.
But Seattle offered Panarin 4 years at $14 million plus, so north of $14 million per year over 4 years, and Panarin said no. So I don't think it was fully a money thing. Obviously, the rumored he wanted $50 million across the next contract. That didn't happen.
No, he got 22.
Less than half. It kind of makes you wonder, if LA was always his preferred destination. Was it the only team? We'll probably never know for sure. But again, going back to the no first round pick, when Patrick Kane was traded out of Chicago, it was, I'm only going to the Rangers. Chicago got a pretty underwhelming return. I don't even think Chicago got a first. Vladimir Tarasenko, when he was traded out of Ottawa to Florida, it was like a third and a fourth. And then Brad Marchand, he went for a conditional second. It did upgrade to a first, but a lot of people thought, Boston should be getting more than just Boston got more for Brandon Carlo than they did for Brad Marchand. But that's the thing, when you have these,
it's also a first in like 3 years, isn't it?
Yeah. When you have these high-end veteran players who have a full no movement to the end of their contract, and when you're at that age of 34 to 36, and you don't want to bounce around, and really you want to go to a good team, but you also want to go somewhere where you can win and they'll keep you around. And so when you look at all these guys, it's pretty underwhelming returns, regardless of how good they are. And I think that's something people need to accept when these players are getting moved still, and for teams to consider when you're signing guys to contracts to kind of take them into their late 30s or mid 30s when they're high profile players, is we can't have a full no movement right up to the end. You got to at least have that last year and be like, you could have a 22 team no trade list. You got to give us at least 10 though. And I think even that's fine, because then it at least gives you different options to work with and not stuck where you can only negotiate with one team and they have all the leverage. Because the alternative is you don't like the offer from LA, but what are you going to do? Just let Panarin walk? You might as well take what you can get.
You got to take the highest offer, and if that's the highest offer that can actually make the trade happen with his full no move, then you got to take it. Now, could they have potentially waited until after the roster freeze? Probably, but also they just want to get it done. Now, Chris Drury has all this time off to not think about that. He can think about what to do with Trocheck if he's getting moved, and what to do with all these other moving parts. So
yeah, and
gets them out ahead.
If because again we don't know for sure, but if the rumors are true that again Panarin was only willing to go to LA, well, what good does waiting do? Like I've seen a bunch of people saying why not wait till after the freeze? And it's like, well, if you know there's only one team you can make a deal with, it's not like they're going to increase their offer and be like, oh, we'll not give you a first because we want him at this one. Like it's
yeah.
You just take what you can get, you move on, you thank Panarin for what he did, and you continue on in your retool.
Yeah. Yep, 100%. And they're I assume they still have their first round pick from this year. They're gonna be picking pretty good because they are now without Panarin and they're pretty low in the standings. They have their own first, and they have Carolina's.
Yeah,
the better of Dallas or Carolina's first rounder. So
probably a 25 to 32 pick somewhere in there, late first.
Yeah, but they'll have their own.
They don't have their second though. Yeah, they're going to be getting a very good player, with their own first, whoever it may be. Maybe the lottery falls in their direction.
They have a chance to do a really quick rebuild, like a real quick retool, because you still have guys like Lafreniere locked up, depending on how much he breaks out. You still have Adam Fox, Shesterkin, like the core pieces are still there. If you can make Liam Greentree into a top 6 forward, if you can get a really good player at this draft, like there's a decent chance that they can turn around relatively quick. Like I think Greentree is playing for the Rangers next season. I think Gabe Perreault is going to be really good for them. Like they've got young pieces, and they've already got some of the high-end talent in the show that they already need. They just need to be able to fill out the roster around them, and the main thing, they need to help these guys develop better than they have for the young prospects.
Yeah,
in years past.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Greentree is obviously, still a very good player, very skilled. It's mostly his skating is the biggest thing, and I think that'll determine whether he's in the NHL next year for the Rangers or if he's down in the AHL. It'll come down to, is his skating good enough at the NHL level yet, or is that something he needs to work on with some of the guys down in the AHL? We'll wait and see with that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because the Rangers, kind of felt like they were in the midst of a retool at one point, and then, they lucked out somehow and got the first overall pick, got Lafreniere,
while in the playoffs.
Hasn't quite panned out as a first overall pick for them. But then they immediately just dove right back into all-in mode, and they kind of went away from what they were doing. It's almost very similar to Toronto, where Toronto was kind of on the rise and vibes were good, things were going good. They landed the big fish in Tavares, and they immediately went all in. They kind of went away from the path they put themselves on over the past, 5 years. And so that'll be something interesting to see. Can the Rangers navigate that? Can Chris Drury of all people do it? I don't think so, but I'm always happy to be proven wrong by these guys. It's an interesting position for them, and I don't think they're done selling off yet. I think there's a lot more moves to be coming.
As far as Liam Greentree goes, just to say his stats out here, 64 games played in the OHL this past season, 49 goals in those 64 games, 70 assists for 119 points. He's a plus 55. He's just under 2 points per game. And then in the playoffs, he was over 2 points per game. In 11 games played, he had 14 goals and 24 points. So his development, his numbers have been very steadily going up. He's also 6'3" at 20 years old, 216 pounds. Like he's a big boy. He knows how to score, at least at that level. If that can translate even mostly to the NHL, I think I think he'll be a good second line. Maybe if he really takes off first line player, he'll.
Yeah.
It's tough to imagine that happening for the Rangers specifically, but we'll see what happens for the kid.
Yeah, his first year, after being drafted with Windsor, he had the very good year, 119 points. Production has definitely taken a massive hit this year. Obviously the 45 points in 34 games is not, ideal. But a lot of things go into that when you're in the OHL, and yeah, I mean, with the Rangers, it's don't rush guys is the biggest thing with them is, if they need to take some time to season down in the AHL and work on different parts of their game, let them. Don't immediately throw them in and, stunt their growth, hurt their development just because it's a young player and we need fans in the seats and we want them to come in and make an immediate impact. And more times than not, that's just not realistic. But
what were his stats for this season? Did you say? Sorry.
In 34 games, 23 goals, 22 assists for 45 points.
Okay. I'm on Hockey DB, and for some reason, I was wondering because I was looking at the season and the numbers weren't lining up. So I was reading his stats for last season. His stats for this year just say statistics unavailable. Doesn't have his stats there.
Oh.
Never seen that from Hockey DB.
I'm gonna go Hockey DB. Yeah, overall though, I do obviously, the LA Kings are obviously the big winner of this trade. Should they have been going after Panarin? No, realistically. But I mean, hey, you know what? If the ship's going down, you might as well do whatever you can to keep it afloat for as long as you can before the inevitable rebuild. And you know what? Good
2
on
years
him.
for Panarin.
Maybe a win around.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting Panarin for a short term like that, you get him to play with you for a bit, help out some of the guys, and then you know what? Maybe in 2 years you retain half on this. Maybe you get a better return for him at that point than the Rangers got in this trade.
Yeah,
like they might be able to have their cake and eat it too with them.
It's definitely a possibility. So I mean, for the LA Kings, I'll give them an A because you obviously got the best player in this deal. You didn't give up, any of your first round draft picks. You did give up a prospect who was a first rounder, but I'm talking about just draft picks as a whole. No roster players, so you're only actively improving your team. Can't.
That's kind of crazy. Panarin for not a single roster player, not even a bottom six left winger to just fill in on the depth chart for each team. Like that's kind of crazy.
And
the
for
Kings
the New
have been
Rangers,
very good defensively. They need help offensively. This could make them a lot more dangerous.
They do need to make a move for a center, though. I think that's the next move for them. And then the Rangers, I'll give them a B-. I mean, it's not a great return for a guy like Panarin, but again, you didn't have any other options. Apparently, you had to go with the Kings. So, Green Tree's a good prospect and develop him right. I mean, if you get a 15-year career out of him, that's fine.
That's pretty good.
Again, I don't love the return for the Rangers, but it's the best they were going to get. So
their hands were pretty tied for it.
Yeah.
But
anything else on the Panarin deal?
No, I think I'm all good on that.
Oh, I guess also is worth knowing because kind of glossed over it, but Seattle's a team to keep an eye on going forward. I mean, if they're willing to, give up a package for Panarin, they were ready to sign that big extension. Maybe they go after another player out there now.
That would have been rough for them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would not.
Why would they be buying on a veteran as Seattle?
Yeah.
Is
again, it's trying to rush the process.
Is Ron Francis still their GM?
No.
He got fired?
He's out of there. Yeah.
Well, how long's the new guy been?
Jason Botterill.
Do we want him fired yet?
I think it's Jason Botterill's the GM now. Yeah, because that just happened during the offseason.
Well, you don't love to see that their new GM also doesn't see the clear direction of the team. That's kind of rough.
But we can move on from the Panarin deal. Wish him best of luck in LA, and curious to see how that works out there. Where are we off to next here?
Let's hit up some news. I guess we could talk about some of the big news here. Seth Jarvis is replacing Brayden Point for Team Canada. That was announced just before we started recording here. That sucks, man. That really sucks for him. Like,
yeah,
obviously with Cirelli as well. Like, it just sucks when any of these guys have to miss the Olympics because we've seen with Stamkos. Like, no matter how good you are, you have no idea what's going on with if players are going to the Olympics, who else breaks out before you. Like, you never know if it's going to be your last kick at the can for that. So it really sucks to see him miss this because obviously since they haven't gone since like 2014 for NHL players, this would have been his first Olympics, and who knows if he'll be able to when they come around again.
I think Point will definitely be on the team, in 4 years. I don't
I
see
sure
him
hope so, and I think there's a good chance.
Yeah, I think he'll still be right in there, and he'll easily be on the team as long as, again, he is healthy in 4 years. For the replacement, I mean, Seth Jarvis deserves to be on this team. Again, a lot of people continue
he's the best
to say
comparable.
It should have been Bedard going, regardless of who came out, but I would personally go with Seth Jarvis over Bedard at this point. If you asked me a month ago, probably go with Bedard, but I don't know if Bedard's at a fully healthy level since coming back from the injury. Seth Jarvis is up there with a bunch of other great players, one of the top goal scorers in the league, one of the best defensive wingers in the league, two-way wingers, whatever you want to call them. So he's a guy that literally can do it all, and you can put him in any situation. And absolutely the right call here.
Yeah, this is I like this replacement. Personally, I would have gone Bedard over Jarvis or Bennett as a replacement, just because I think I would have done
Bedard over Bennett.
But other than that, I really like it because Jarvis can literally do what Point was doing. Like, you don't have to change the lineups at all. Just everywhere that said Point, you could put Jarvis now.
Yeah.
When Cirelli's out for Bennett, you're not putting Bennett in that same. Bennett is not your first line penalty killer. Like, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Come on. So like, you have to rearrange lines. There's a good chance he's playing with Tom Wilson. I don't think that was the case for Cirelli. So like, they're going to be moving the 5-on-5 lines around. So it creates a little bit more work. But yeah, as far as Jarvis goes, I think it's a very good replacement, and a guy that, frankly, especially at least with the extra 2 players you have, should have been on the original roster.
Should have been on the initial team. Absolutely. Yeah. Sucks for Point. Happy for Jarvis, and these injuries so close to the Olympics are just brutal. If you feel for the players, and you never wish injury on any players in general, and then especially for it to be something like this that happens so close to the Olympics. And again, when it's been 12 years, players finally get a chance and then not able to check that box on a lifelong dream of representing their country in the Olympics. It sucks.
It kind of makes the 4 nations a little extra special. There's going to be plenty of players that that's one of their only times getting to represent their country, and so
well, thankfully,
it kind of makes that tournament a little extra special.
The World Cup is coming back, which will be nice. So we'll be having international best on best every 2 years, which will be nice. But again, it's very different. This World Cup of hockey that the NHL is going to be putting on versus the Olympics, right? Like the highest of the highs in representing your country in the Olympics. That's you only get that every 4 years.
Yeah. Do we want to save the McKenna stuff until the end of the news, or do we want to go for it?
Take your pick. On
let's let's tease it a little bit there.
All right.
Because the other two kind of tie into each other, and then that could be our last bit of news before we get into our other stuff. Calgary Flames forward Jonathan Huberdeau scored a great power play goal last night against the Oilers. Announced earlier this morning he's undergoing season-ending hip surgery. They didn't really say much about what the hip surgery was, but nowhere did they say it's this many months, it's this kind of recovery period. They just said season-ending, and that's it. So
yeah,
we know he's going to be out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's one of those surgeries that I think the timeline it's just very unclear, because this is the same surgery that both Patrick Kane and John Klingberg had done.
Right.
So again, it's very hard to tell, when he'll be back. Obviously, he'll be back at some point next season. Is it start of the season? Is it 10 games in, 20 games in? Tough to tell, but obviously it's something he played through, at least for last night. Don't know how long he's been dealing with this, but getting it right before the Olympic break, and then that gives him lots of time to get healthy and get ready for next season, and kind of helps the Flames out when you're looking to tank. And it's obviously not the Jonathan Huberdeau of a couple years ago, but still one of their better forwards. And for him to come out of the lineup, that does help the process
this past year
of tanking.
Yeah, and he's been getting better in Calgary since he got there pretty much every season. And the fact that he's going to get this surgery to fix whatever is going on with his hips, maybe that brings him back a little bit. I don't think he'll ever be a 115-point guy again, but if you get him up to 75, 80 points on that Flames team, that's still pretty nice. So we'll see what he looks like after the surgery. And yeah, we were talking about it right before he went live, that because we both were watching the game, and we thought it was kind of odd how hard he celebrated on his power play goal, because it was like 3 or 4 minutes into the game. And sure, it's Battle of Alberta, it's a big goal, but like he celebrated pretty hard.
Celebrated pretty hard, and to the point where I was like, looked a bit weird.
What's going on?
Yeah.
So kind of makes a little more sense. I think he knew that was his last game of the season there, and he played like it. He had a great game.
Yeah, I mean, when you know it's your last game, you might as well just leave it all out there and enjoy it for one last time before. Yeah, might not play a game for 8+ months, so might as well soak it in while you can.
Yeah. Lay it on the line.
Lay it on the line.
Do you want to talk about these Draisaitl comments? Because I did not see these.
Yeah, it's happened after last night's game. Obviously, Oilers fans very quick to defend Draisaitl and say things are being taken out of context. In my opinion, I don't think they are. It's pretty easy to see what he said, and it's not hard to kind of look around that. And I'll pull up some of the quotes here from his interview. And it was obviously, Oilers are kind of hot and cold right now. Not necessarily playing bad, but not necessarily playing good, kind of all over the place. And they probably want to win this last Battle of Alberta here heading into the Olympic break. And I didn't realize this. Apparently Flames won the season series. So that's also got to suck for Edmonton. When
it kind of feels like the Flames have been owning the Oilers a little bit in the last, not just this year, maybe last 2, potentially 3 years. Like, obviously the Oilers are a better team right now. They win more, they go to the playoffs and all that, but whenever they face off, it's always like, okay, here it is, the big bad Oilers come to town to fight our shitty rebuilding squad, and then the Flames walk away with the win, and it's like they did it again. Like, it keeps happening. So
yeah. But yeah, obviously, not a great loss for the Oilers. And one of Draisaitl's quotes being, "I think there's saves our goalies need to make at some point." So not too far off from comments similar made by Jake Sanderson in Ottawa. And
right,
that's not good when you've replaced
both
your goalies, and you've already now got a guy like Draisaitl kind of calling the goalies out, being like, we need to fucking save. At some point, it's not a good start there. And then he was asked about kind of what's the vibe with the team, what's going on, where do they go, and really long explanation from Draisaitl, but it eventually came down to it starts with the coaches. He obviously acknowledges the team needs to be better, but his biggest thing is it starts with the coaches. Now,
at a certain point, you got to wonder how that goalie coach is doing.
One, is that also, is he kind of calling out Chris Knobloch? Is he calling out the assistant coaches? He just says it starts with the coaches, and kind of makes you wonder what the hell could be going on, because the Oilers were in a pretty, rough spot 2.5 years ago, and Oilers fans loved Jay Woodcroft and were, in tears when he got fired.
Yeah,
they bring in Chris Knobloch. That was McDavid's pick. That was McDavid's hire, and they go on an incredible run. They go to the Stanley Cup Finals. They come up just a little bit short in Game 7. They come back the next year. They go back to the Cup Final and lose in 6. So, kind of makes you wonder what could be going on that Draisaitl is not happy with the coaches when you did just go to back-to-back Cup Finals. You guys have gone on incredible win streaks. You've had one of the best power plays we've ever seen in NHL history. Had one of the best penalty kills in playoff history, a couple years ago. Or no, actually, I don't. No, it wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. Actually, it might have been last year. Was the penalty kill went? What was it, like 30 for 30 or something?
I don't remember which year it is, but I do remember that incredible run of like however many games without a power play goal against.
Kind of makes you wonder the fuck's going on. It doesn't seem like coaching is the issue. It seems like team defense and goaltending is the issue. So, yeah,
but I guess who does that end up falling on? Like, the Edmonton Oilers going into the Olympic break should probably not be sandwiched right between the Seattle Kraken and the Utah Mammoth in the standings.
Is that where they're at right now?
Yeah, 15th overall in the league. Yeah, it's not a great time for them, and that's in a particularly weak Pacific Division, no less. Like it hasn't been an issue for them because they usually turn it on at some point in the past years, but they're not looking fantastic out there, and I wouldn't bet against them in the playoffs. But right now, when they're playing borderline 500 hockey, it can't be building up a ton of confidence for them.
Yeah, especially when you've, the goaltending that you've now decided to go with hasn't been, particularly great. Again, like I always say,
3 days ago,
if it works in the playoffs, yeah, I always say if the goaltending comes alive in the playoffs, then all good. But right now, it hasn't been good. And again, it's not like you're sitting on a bunch of riches to trade off. You've got some things, but again, how do you make that work cap wise? And your depth isn't quite there, so it's going to be interesting to see where the Oilers are and what they do after the Olympic break, because again, you're on a timeline. If you don't win the cup this year, you got 2 more years to get it done. And they got to navigate
because they have 2 more years. Do you think they should be going all in this year? Like, do you think they could do a soft retool at this trade deadline and this off season and like basically put all their chips into guys who have 2 years left and basically do everything they can to make it like set them up for success for next year? Make it so that all their assets are going to things that will help them win next year. And then to get the assets to buy for then, you can sell some of the expiring guys this year. Like,
no,
obviously you're still going to try and make the playoffs and go for it. Like, you're not going to tank, but like a soft sell on some of your UFAs.
You're selling UFAs that have next to no value, really.
Mostly.
Like that's a thing because you're obviously keeping, your guys in the top 6. You're not moving out any of your top 4 defensemen. I don't even think you could because I think they might all have no movement clauses at this point. So it's not really
A
like
lot of
they got
clauses.
much to sell off that's of any value. Um, so again, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do because the team should be in a way better spot than they are right now. And Draisaitl, who's usually not, you know, if he's feeling these type of things, usually he's pretty quiet about it. And I wonder if it's maybe
Yeah.
easy to say that stuff knowing I'm hopping on a plane tomorrow and I'm off to the Olympics and I can, hope it all blows over by the time I'm back, or what. But it's not really something we've seen from Draisaitl to this level. So
Yeah. And yeah, it's brutal when it's about the goaltending. We're like how far removed from the Jari Skinner trade, and we're only
yeah,
3 days back from when they waived Calvin Pickard. Like, maybe is
yeah,
this him saying, "Hey, bring Pickard the fuck back up," or what? But yeah, team's got to
it
figure
makes
it
you
out.
wonder. Absolutely.
One other thing that I wanted to mention, this more has to do with McDavid. So I'm just going to slip it in here with the Oilers news. Um, and this is not any news. This is just kind of a vibe I'm getting. Um, but I was thinking about it last night, and like, you know how you talk about all the different elite players in the league, and just who are some of the best guys, like whether you're thinking about right now, whether you're thinking about over the last decade and a bit, stuff like that. Um, Crosby just has this aura about him. Like, even if you say, oh, from this time to this time, this player was better. Okay, who do you want in a game 7? Crosby's that guy, right? Um, he just has that generational player aura that some guys get. I think McDavid's getting to that point. Like, obviously, we all know how he's been the best in the world for uh, 8 or 9 years. Uh, but I think McDavid's getting to the point where he has that Crosby X factor aura, and I think a lot of people, to them personally, they won't see that until he has a cup. Um,
I I'm I don't think
but
that's
for me,
necessarily it.
he
Like
every time he
I
gets it, it feels like destiny's on his stick.
I totally see it, and I think most people do. But again, yeah, when you ask the question, who do yeah, the question, who do you pick in a game 7? McDavid's got more skill, but Crosby's got 3 Stanley Cups. Crosby's got the most iconic goal in hockey history potentially. Back-to-back Conn Smythes. Like you know, I don't think anyone's denying that McDavid's on that level, but it's just simple. If you got to pick
Right.
option A or option B, you're going to go with the side that's got the proof mapped out numerous times for you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of
But
those
I
things
do get
where
what you're saying, though.
yeah, I'm starting to get to that point where, like, anyone else in the league, like even current day McKinnon or current day Crosby, I'm still taking Crosby in that game 7. McDavid versus Crosby? I really don't know. Like, even in the games where he gets shut down, a team has to put everything they have into shutting down McDavid. And I feel like he's getting, for me personally, he's getting to that point where it's like he's one of those guys. He just has that extra aura of like, I'm not, I look at these other guys and I think about the team they're on. You just intrinsically you think about, obviously not now, but you think about Panarin, you think about him as a Ranger, you think about Nate McKinnon, you think about the Avalanche. McDavid just is this generational Canadian player that is on Edmonton, but like just kind of transcends that a little bit. I don't really have a better way to describe it than that, but it's one of those things
I
where
think I do understand what you're
you just see him
saying,
as
though,
a,
all
a
around.
phenomenal hockey player beyond the crest, which
Mhm.
very few guys can transcend in that way. Even though obviously, you see the Penguins logo of today, you you immediately think of Crosby. But like, you see a Team Canada jersey, you also think of Crosby first. So I don't know. I just had that thought last night, and I was like, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on it.
No, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But I guess we should probably talk about the Gavin McKenna news now.
Yes,
I haven't seen if there's been much development today since it happened yesterday. Do you know if there's been any updates or anything like that?
Yeah. So before we dive into this all, it is worth noting that we do not know the full story. I don't think anybody in the public in general, aside from those,
No, it's a lot of guesswork.
themselves that were in that situation, or witnesses, or those who are conducting the investigation. We do not know the full story. We are only going off of what we know so far. And so if we are wrong with anything or things may change, you can feel free to let us know wherever through the comments or the socials or wherever, and you can fill us in on that. But well, so I guess we can if you want to break down kind of what we know so far, and then I can throw out kind of some of the other things that have trickled out from today. I guess I think it's probably the best way.
Okay.
For those who haven't, who maybe don't know the full story or don't know exactly what's going on at the time here.
So I want to say this was it was very late January, like January 30th, maybe 31st. The team that Gavin McKenna plays for, what is it? University of Pennsylvania, I think. They had their outdoor game, and after the game, they went to one of the university on-campus bars afterwards. So that was obviously Gavin McKenna, the entire team, and then a bunch of family members of the team. So they have this huge party. If you don't know much about in the States, their university bars, and I still don't, but I've picked up a couple things since a few days ago. They allow underage people into the bars. They just give them a wristband that basically says you're not allowed to drink. These kids don't give a shit, and it's really easy. So they obviously take them off, and then they can order drinks. We don't know if there's been no reports on if Gavin McKenna did that, if he had drank at all. We can assume he probably had some. Who knows how drunk he was? I believe this happened around 8:45 p.m., so it wasn't even that late. But there is the possibility of that just being at a bar. But Gavin McKenna was there, and his mom was also there, one of the family members, and some other guy allegedly called his mom a whore. That's not going to go over well with anybody. It's going to go over way worse when you're pumped up on adrenaline from a hockey game. It's going to be way worse if your mom is there in person and he says that. I don't know if he said that to McKenna pointing over at his mom. I don't know if he said it to the mom and McKenna heard it. But all we know is it sounds like that was said. That's one of the most common things across every story. It sounds like after that was said inside. They ended up outside pretty quickly, and McKenna socked this dude. It sounds like it was one punch. It sounds like there was not really a fight. He clocked him once, as far as I heard.
Sounds like it is two.
Okay.
It was two in the end. Apparently, it sounds like allegedly. Don't know for sure, but
yeah. For what's out there right now, it sounds like he most likely hit him twice. This dude's kind of fucked up. This guy, from what we've heard, has like a broken jaw, a concussion, and
lost a couple chiclets,
fell out,
broken jaw. That's
I think his jaw's broken in 3 places, and he lost 3 teeth.
His jaw has to be wired shut for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks.
The dignity of moms everywhere is safe for another 2 weeks. But that's most of the stuff that we knew as far as yesterday.
Yeah, and then obviously,
and then of course he was state, or the school security came in. They put him on because they're like pseudo police kind of like security guards in some places. They put him under arrest, and obviously the charges, who are placed on him by the state, the actual state, and not from the guy, which sounds insane to me. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, it's Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at yesterday. Kind of, it all kind of kept kind of trickling out and trying to figure out what's real, what's not. Again, don't know if this is exactly how this went down, but today we did get some reports that this guy, and I mean his name's out there. His name's Josh, and way to go, Josh.
Josh got stalked by Gavin, dude.
So what it sounds like apparently is he was intentionally harassing Gavin McKenna's mom and getting in her face. And
okay,
yes, obviously calling
so
her.
This wasn't a guy pushing Gavin's buttons. This was a guy who was getting into it with his mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you said, repeatedly, allegedly calling her a whore. What else did he say? Don't know for sure. Gavin McKenna had to be restrained inside the restaurant by his teammates before eventually McKenna and his mom left the scene and they left the bar. They were outside. Josh allegedly follows them into the parking lot.
Followed them
into the parking lot, and he approached Mrs. McKenna once again. And at that point, that is when the knockout happened.
Okay.
And again, it's not confirmed, but it's kind of sounding like that is that's the reports
prevailing
swirling around right now
report
of what did happen.
That changes things quite a bit.
Yeah,
if that's true.
It changed it because the narrative initially was McKenna's just because that's why people are so quick to jump to assumptions based on just hearing about something, right? Like immediately was people are like, oh, he's hammered at the bar, can't control himself, and he might have had no alcohol all night.
I was gonna say everyone's talking about the wristband thing. We don't know if he was hammered beyond belief. We don't know if he had a drop. We don't know.
We don't know if he had 5 pints. We don't know if he had 2 jugs or he had a tower or none. We have no idea. But I think any man in the world, if you're a man, loves their mom very much. And if you have a guy blatantly disrespecting your mom in front of you, you give him a chance to walk away. He doesn't. You walk away and be the bigger man. And he repeatedly follows you and keeps attacking your mom like that.
Well,
eventually, you got to do something. You got to put him in his place. And I think Gavin McKenna.
I don't even know if it's necessarily that.
I think McKenna was totally justified.
I'm not even thinking he just does it out of anger. If he followed them to a parking lot afterwards, and it's just the two of them, he is a high-profile person, and he's been verbally abusing your mom all night. Like, if this guy's willing to follow you out, this is the U.S., man. He might have a gun. He might have a knife. You have no idea what this guy has if he's now following you to a parking lot after the bar. That sounds like the start to a horror movie. So, if he's following you and he knows who you are and he's following you specifically to be mean, I'm not assuming this guy has good intentions. So, I'm not, I don't want to fully condone what he did because we also, again, we're just going to keep hammering it home. We don't fully know what happened yet. Haven't.
This guy is a 21-year-old senior. Yeah, and there were photos that were released of him in the hospital. Kind of weird. Looks very similar to Luke Hughes in a way, face wise. And you could tell just by looking at Buddy's eyes, like he had a lot to drink. So it's a guy that was hammered, and don't know exactly what he was falling into the parking lot for, but it sounds like from what witnesses are saying, McKenna did punch him twice. Don't know if it took 2 punches to put him down, or if it was one to put him down, and then there was a follow-up one when he's already down.
One for good measure.
We don't fully know, but it sounds like McKenna kind of tried to do everything to not have to put his hands on this guy. But again,
shout out to the teammates who stopped him from clocking him in the bar as well. That's good to keep that from happening. One person that I would love to hear from on this, and I don't know if we ever will, there's a good chance we don't, Gavin McKenna's mom, just because that's got to be crazy to you're at this bar of people I don't know how old his mom is, but let's say at least probably half her age. Um, and this guy's just giving you the business all night for I'm going to assume no reason. I doubt she was running around harassing them first.
Yeah, it's probably a guy
This
that
guy just like
recognizes,
being
oh,
a
it's
dick for no
Gavin
reason.
McKenna,
Your
and
son wants to take his head off. They hold him back. It gets diffused, and then he shows up again outside. And then your son does
yeah.
that. Like now, all the shitstorm going on now. Like I would love to if somebody could have a sit down with her and do a 20-minute interview and just ask like, what do you
Maybe at
remember
some point,
happening?
but
Like, what are your
not.
thoughts on this? I doubt
It
it.
ain't
I
gonna
doubt
happen until this is resolved, until
Oh,
either the
100%.
charges are dropped or whatever. And again, is it gonna happen? I don't think so. But McKenna is being charged with a felony assault charge, which if he is
Do you know the
found
difference?
guilty, that
Because
is
people keep
20.
dropping that.
I
What
think it's
what what is
basically just
felony compared to
because
regular assault?
I think the big thing is just because he broke Buddy's jaw. There was, you know,
The laws
permanent
are different
bodily
if you're
harm
stronger.
done in that way.
Okay.
So again, I don't think he's going to be found guilty on the felony charge, but if he is, that is 20 years in, up to 20 years in prison.
I don't know
Which is
about you, but I'll be
pretty
furious
fucking
if that
wild.
happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it gets to that point. And especially,
No.
Gavin McKenna, his agent is going to go out and get the best lawyer in the world for him. Because Gavin McKenna is a guy that's going to bring you potentially, the way the cap's going, 20 million across his career. So they're going to fight like hell for him. And again, if these things are the way they are, if the stories are true, I think he'll walk out fine from it.
There's very few times where
true,
high-profile athletes like this get into these things. Like they're just not the same as you and me. If I did this, I would be facing more jail time than Gavin McKenna is going to see. Like it just works differently for them. That's just unfortunately the shitty reality of the society we're in. And like, yeah, the state isn't gonna the school isn't gonna want him getting held out of games. Whatever team he gets drafted to isn't gonna want this looming over his head. I imagine there'll be some fines, some restitution paid back to the guy. Pay the guy's medical bills, give him a $75,000 fuck off fee.
Maybe not though, because that's kind of what we thought when we thought it was the charges were coming from, Josh. Like
I'm kind of assuming that the state will hand those charges over to him if he wants to.
But I mean, if it's found that he was harassing McKenna, he willingly, McKenna left the bar and was like, "We're leaving," and he follows him into the parking lot. Can you? I don't know for sure, but can you really say
no? But I think
McKenna
will want to. I think he'll want to for the optics of. It looks bad if you assault a guy, he gets fucked up, and you don't pay his bills, even if he deserves it.
I don't think so.
It just but I think the majority of people will. And the majority of people aren't looking deep into it. They're going to see he assaulted a guy, he told him to fuck off and pound sand in court, and that's the end of it. Most people aren't going to look deeper into it. Like they're going to read the headline, not the full blurb. And I think you want the headline to be he's trying to atone for what he did. Like I just think that's how the agents are going to tell him to look at it, because
then you also got to think, if you're Gavin McKenna, you go to a bar, some drunk guy's there, he's going to come harass the shit out of you and just not leave you alone in hopes that he socks you, and then
he's probably going to have a bodyguard now going.
Well, maybe, but if he doesn't, you open yourself up to where can you go, and are people going to harass you thinking if I piss him off enough, I could get a couple mil out of him?
I don't think so.
There's a lot of people out there that are desperate for.
There's
never really been many things of guys breaking someone's jaw in a parking lot fight, though. We haven't really gone down a road like this before.
No, but there's plenty of hockey players who their calling card is, this guy's a meathead, hothead. If you say anything, he'll get pissed off and fight you. And we don't hear about those guys. Like, I don't know. Just because this happened off the ice, I don't think it'll be a trend.
If they go and harass Tom Wilson in a bar, Tom Wilson could kill him. You know, you do it to Zdeno Chara. Zdeno Chara could pick you up and break you in half like piece of bamboo.
What about a Nick Cousins? What about 5'11" Nick Cousins, who's like one of the biggest hotheads or something like that? Like, I don't know. And that's just hockey. Like, we're not even talking about hothead NBA players who get fuming over a shove or football. I'm sure football players.
Yeah, I mean, some NFL players
you probably don't want to piss off a football player,
pretty
but maybe a quarterback. Either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Personally, I know a lot people have talked about this. I think most people don't agree with it. I'm pretty sure you don't. At least you didn't yesterday. I think this helps his draft stock. I think because it's such an old boys club and they love that shit, the biggest knock on him was his size and his determination.
But that has nothing to do with it, because people say
he stood up for his mom. What a guy! Like
that, and that part is good. But we didn't know that at first. All we knew is he knocked out a guy, and people saying, "Oh well, now we know Gavin McKenna's a fighter and can hold his own. His draft stock will go up." There's a big difference between, you know, as far as, you know, punching a guy that wasn't quite expecting to get punched versus dropping the gloves and going toe to toe with a guy who's ready to go in that moment and throw punches back. Like, it's a
sure. Oh, 100%.
It's totally different in that sense. But again, you know, we at the time when we were talking about, we didn't know the full story, right? Of that it was him protect his mom. All we knew is that he punched
the full
a guy
story to this point.
You know,
plenty more could come out.
Broke
still.
Buddy's jaw. So I don't know if I don't know if it necessarily helps his draft stock at all. But it definitely doesn't hurt
every
it.
team.
It doesn't hurt it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that's not overarching. That's like GM specific. Like, there might be some teams that see this and they're like, we don't want that kind of incendiary attitude. There might be some teams where they're like that. Like, we like that he's willing to go to bat like that. We like that he's not afraid to fight if he gets pissed off. We like that he clearly has an effective punch. Like, I think there's some GMs who are foaming at the mouth at the idea of it. I think there's probably some that this doesn't.
But I think all the GMs that would love that are probably not the guys that are even going to be in contention to pick him, though. For the most part,
it depends how the Rangers do to close out the season.
Rangers, it's just going to be best player available. They're in a position where it's
true.
You just take whatever the top guys there, and if they're second overall, then it's you either just take Stenberg or McKenna, whoever's there. Now, if they jump up to first, then that could be something a little interesting, because then who knows what direction they might go in. But again, it also is kind of a developing story. We don't know all the full final details. We're only kind of going off what we know right now, and you know, it'll give us something to potentially talk about during the Olympic break, because this is our last episode before the Olympic break. And we will have some stuff over on the YouTube coming out, some kind of YouTube exclusive stuff regarding the Olympics and whatnot. But we do have you had a fun idea that you brought to the table here for something we can do in this episode here. So I will throw the microphone to you and let you kind of explain what we're doing here.
Yeah, so this is not a me original idea. I saw that the boys over on TSN and Bar Down specifically, shout out to them. They did this with actual NHL players. A lot of guys going to the Olympics for Team Canada, and basically they had all these categories, and they had to pick players, Canadian players, throughout history to try and create the best Frankenstein-esque player through these different categories. The categories being speed, hands, style, IQ, toughness, heart, clutch, and shot. And so you get to pick one player, one Canadian player from history or current, for each category, and you just try and make the best player, essentially.
Yeah,
so we've both done that.
We can't repeat
ahead of time.
The same player either. Like we each have our own lists,
Yeah.
but we can't use the same player more than once in our own individual lists.
Yeah. Instead of going category by category and each saying what we picked, do we want to do one at a time? Just like you go through yours, then I'll go through mine kind of thing?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
We
I'll let you
can
go.
kind of talk through what
Go first.
reasoning.
See if you
All right.
sway me on any of them.
So for mine, I picked for speed, I went Connor McDavid because, I mean, fastest player to ever play the game. For hands, I went Mario Lemieux. Dude had filthy mitts. I was a little bit tempted to go Nathan McKinnon, but Lemieux just was a different beast. For style, this is one where you can kind of go in a ton of directions if you want. I went with Joe Thornton. Dude's got crazy riz. Like
that is who I had for style because
I was wondering if you would as well.
Unbelievable style from Jumbo Joe.
Yeah. For
just
IQ,
the beard alone,
I went
honestly as well. Even
right.
Is
Plus,
enough.
if this guy scores 4 goals, you never know.
Yeah, never know.
For IQ, I went Wayne Gretzky. You know, he's a traitor, but at the end of the day, come on. I mean, you're talking hockey IQ. You got to throw Gretz in there.
So
for toughness,
I think to make this easy, so far I can just say I have the exact same as you. I have McDavid for speed, obviously. Mario for hands, obviously. Jumbo Joe.
Really?
Wayne Gretzky for IQ. Yeah, I've got the exact same. So
okay.
Far. I do think we're because what do we have? We have 4 categories left. 2. I think only one of them we're gonna have the same.
Okay. I have a feeling I know which one. The next one for toughness, I went with Jarome Iginla.
I almost went with Iginla. I went in a little bit different direction. I went Chris Pronger.
Okay. There was a lot of guys like that I was considering.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, toughness. It's do you look at more of the the playing through injuries, the hitting, the shot blocking, the fights. It was kind of one of those ones. It's just what do you take in consideration? Yeah. I almost went with Iginla, but I went with Chris Pronger just because of the, wasn't really as much of a fighter as some other guys, but the way he played the game as a defenseman, a big defenseman, and the physicality and the beatings he took. I mean, it's
crazy. No, fair enough.
But Iginla's absolute great answer.
For heart, I picked Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
You have to
it's
nobody's ever played the sport with more heart than Sid the Kid.
Yeah.
I'm it's not particularly close. I'm confident in that. I'm very interested in who you have for this one because I don't think you'll have this guy. For clutchness, I picked Patty Waugh, the only player to have 3 Conn Smythes.
It's a great answer.
It's obviously a little different picking a goalie for that, but clutchness isn't really something that's defined by the position. So I was trying to think of somebody who's more clutch, and I was like, you got to have Crosby for heart. Like that just makes too much sense.
Yeah,
and I mean, there's a reason nobody else in history has 3 Conn Smythes.
Absolutely, I did not go with Patty Waugh, but I'll let you throw the shot out there, and then I'll do my last 2 because I think both of mine are different.
Okay. For shot, I went with Steven Stamkos. I was thinking through, obviously a lot of good players off the board already. I did put, originally I was thinking about putting Bedard in there. His shot is already really, really good. But at the end of the day, it was like he hasn't quite done it long enough. Like, I know more about how good Stamkos' shot is from, the one-timer when he's handcuffed in tight, like just he can rip it from anywhere. So I went with Stamkos on that.
No, absolutely. You definitely could have gone that direction. I had 2 different picks for these last 2. For clutch, might be a bit of a hot take, but it felt weird to not have this guy on the list. I actually went with Mark Messier. and that goes
Okay.
in hand with the 94 Stanley Cup final with the New York Rangers, guaranteeing that the Rangers will win the next game, and then backs it up with a hat trick. I think is one of the
It's pretty good.
most clutch moments in NHL history. To be able to just talk that shit and then actually just back it up. I think goes a long way. There was a lot of ways that you could have gone with this one. It kind of just depends on kind of what do you value as clutch, right? I didn't go this direction, but I almost went with a guy like Logan Couture, who was never really that point per game player in the regular season, but playoffs he was always one of the top guys, right? Like the 2019 when the Blues won the cup, I think Couture ended up still leading the playoffs in scoring, despite the Sharks didn't even go to the cup final.
He turns out
always scoring big goals. So I did end up going with Mark Messier for clutch because again I was like couldn't leave him off the list here. And for
pretty
shot,
good. Just one more thing on the clutch. So I went with Patty Waugh as a goalie. What actually got me to him was thinking I almost picked Jordan Binnington at the start, because to go from the level he would play in the regular season, you're in Four Nations now, it's time to clutch up, and he clutches the fuck up in that manner at a moment's notice. Clutchness is about how much a guy elevates their game in those big moments, and he went from hardly an NHL starter to an unbeatable goaltender in that final game. So he was right up there.
I'm gonna look it up here before I say it and I look stupid. So I'm curious. Okay, no. Which game was that?
I did not think we were gonna have the same for this many of them. I mean, a lot of them it's like they're picks that make sense, but like for something like hands, like you could go so many different ways. Like it's crazy. Neither of us has said Nathan McKinnon yet. I was tempted to go McDavid for hands and then like McKinnon for speed or something like that.
I was close to. I think you might know who I'm going with for shot. If you know me, I think you'll know.
So I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like Mike Bossy is probably American, but I actually don't know.
Canadian.
Is he Canadian?
He's Canadian.
It's probably Bossy then, right?
It is Mike Bossy. I've said it on the podcast here many times before, and I'll stand by it. He doesn't have the most goals all time, but I think Mike Bossy is still the greatest just all-time goal scorer in the NHL. 573 goals in the regular season in 752. So, not even 200 differential between his goals and games played.
It's another crazy two players that I was actually thinking of swapping. I was very close to swapping Wayne Gretzky and Joe Thornton. Just because
that'd be
if you're not
IQ and style.
IQ and style. Because if it's not Gretzky for IQ, I mean, Joe Thornton's right up there with some of the best hockey minds. And Wayne Gretzky, I mean, low key, picking number 99 was sick. Like being like, I'm going to be one of the best players of all time, being like, I'm going to pick the highest number legally available, and I'm going to get it retired league-wide.
They get it retired league-wide. That's absolutely.
And also,
it's
rocking the Jofa.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's like, what do you classify style? Is it, their style on the ice? Is it off the ice? Is it a little bit of both? For me, it was kind of a little bit of both. But yeah, I mean, the just the outfits in general that Jumbo Joe wears, the most iconic beard in NHL history, and I don't think it'll ever be topped. Rocking the no visor, I think, was always just so sick for guys to do. I'm gonna be so sad when we, in a couple years, when everybody has to wear a visor. And it's like, man, we had it so good back then when guys could just throw on a bucket, no visor, go out there and just play.
I will say nowadays, it looks a little weird to me. Whenever I see a guy without a visor,
because there's like nobody left.
He looks naked.
We've only got 3 players left now, don't we? We're down to 3. We almost lost
like
Jamie
that.
Benn, but he came back.
Jamie Benn, Ryan O'Reilly,
Ryan Reeves.
Ryan
I think
Reeves.
that's all we got. Because Matt Martin retired, so.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun to put together. I noticed that I skewed a little more modern than you did. You had Bossy and Messier in there.
I wanted to have more current guys, but I was like, man, it's tough. It's tough to move out some of these all-time greats.
I kind of had the opposite thing. I was thinking back because I did have Mike Bossy on my radar and even Lemieux for shot. And I was just thinking, like, I watched a couple highlights and I was like, Stamkos can just rip it better. And like,
But that's also technology as well.
It's 100%. It's 100% that. And also the change in diet, just the way the game is viewed compared to back then. You could probably still smoke on the bench when Bossy was playing. Like, it's just an entirely different sport, really. But when I think about it, I'm just like, it's one of those things where people are like, Gretzky had more skill than McDavid. And I'm like, I don't know, man. A Gretzky highlight is him going past some guy with a huge beer gut and then going 5-hole on a goalie who doesn't know how to fall down right. Meanwhile, McDavid torches the whole Rangers.
If McDavid goes out there and does it, if Stamkos does it, Bedard, if any of them recreate the iconic photo that Mike Bossy did of them posing with their stick while the blade is on fire, you know what? I'll give you best shot. But until you can recreate that, I feel like the guy that had a flaming blade, he's got a pretty good shot. Pretty good shot. And
he could be up there for style too with that one.
Honestly, could have absolutely. But yeah, that was a fun little exercise you had us do here. Maybe over the Olympic break, maybe we'll do this one again, but it can just be any player. Doesn't have to just be the best Canadian player we can put together, just the best hockey player in general. Maybe we'll come up with a couple other categories of our own to make it a little more fun.
Maybe we do it where it's only guys from a certain decade. Like, could you imagine trying to make this, but you can only pick players that played from 2000 to 2010?
What if we also do it where
now you gotta go a little into the barrel?
So we have our categories. So one of us starts, but we can't have the same players. Once one of us picks a player, they're done.
That's pretty good.
Maybe that's what that's something we'll do over the Olympic break here. But we are on and into our final segment here to wrap up the episode. If you've been around here before, we love to wrap things up and have a little bit of fun with a fun game. This one's not necessarily quite on the full game side, but it kind of is. We are back.
I thought you were going to say it's not on the fun side.
No, this one's very fun. The buy or bail.
Hell yeah.
I believe I've got 8. Actually, let me check. Did I do 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Good for you.
I was supposed to stop after 8. Guess I got on a roll.
Yeah, you're cooking.
If you haven't been here for buy or bail before, pretty simple. I've come up with a bunch of statements regarding players, teams, things around hockey as of today. And Brayden, it's up to you to just decide: are you buying that statement? Are you in on it, or are you bailing on it? You don't quite believe in what I'm laying down there for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. First up, the St. Louis Blues start the fire sale by trading at least one of Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas. Could be one, could be both. But are you buying that they're going to be moving one of them by the deadline, which I think is a month and 1 day away?
Yeah, and we're past the roster freeze, so this would have to wait until then. Do you mean start this as in that's going to be like their first move that signals
No, it's just...
Or basically, are they going to do it?
Are they going to do it? Because, they traded Nick Bjugstad. But that doesn't mean, they're starting the fire sale. Like, when you move out one of
scream fire sale.
Your pieces you've built your franchise around over the last few years, that's when it's like, all right, they're blowing it up.
No, I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to bail on that. I think there's not going to be high enough value offers to them to do it. And both guys are young. Both guys are good. Both guys are under contract for a long time. I think there's a very good chance they'll get moved in the offseason.
Okay.
But I don't see a sexy enough return being available at the deadline for them to be feeling it's worth it.
All right, fair enough.
I could see in the offseason like a Jordan Kyrou to Edmonton, uh, a Robert Thomas to Minnesota type stuff. Get a bunch of moves done, but I think that
This
that
won't
just
be by the
feels
deadline.
offseason.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up, the Edmonton Oilers run through the West once again and reach their third straight Stanley Cup final.
Are they going to get beat by the Golden Knights, the Avs, the Stars, or the Wild? Is really what it comes down to. I don't think there's any other
Or
teams in there
do,
that are.
do the Kings finally pull off an upset and shock the world? Does Panarin move
Their
the
whole
needle
thing
that
is
much?
defense, and their whole thing is defense, and then get just enough goal scoring, and then McDavid Draisaitl hang like 3 points per game on them. I can't see the Kings doing it. I'm gonna say no. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened, but I think the goaltending's not solid enough. They don't have enough gas in the tank. Their depth is worse. They even have a couple injuries. Adam Henrique makes their center depth worse. I think this is one of those. I think they're kind of where Boston was last year, where they're going to take a step back season, which is still probably making the playoffs and doing some damage, just not getting the cup final.
Not getting back there.
And then they're going to reload, and next year they'll come shot out of a cannon.
All righty. Next up here, Nikita Kucherov continues on his hot streak and wins the Art Ross. I believe he's currently 9 points behind the leader, and I believe it's still McDavid. Or did McKinnon pass him?
I know McDavid's still the leader. I don't know.
He's actually only 6 points back of
spread's at.
McDavid.
He's been scoring at like 178 point pace since game 16, I believe it is, because he had 15 points in his first 15, and since then he's been out of his goddamn mind.
His point total in the month. I think his point total in the month of January is enough to put him as the leading scorer on a couple teams across the entire season.
I think it's 4. I think it's 4 teams. I think it's the Canucks, the Flames, the Blues, and
I can't remember I can't remember the fourth one. You're gonna buy on it, yeah. But I don't blame you. He's right in there.
He's been so hot lately, but the main reason I'm going to buy on it, on top of that, because McDavid is still playing out of his goddamn mind. But people are writing off McKinnon like he's not also at 91, 92 points, right? Yeah. But those guys are all playing in the Olympics, and I don't doubt they have nagging injuries already.
Kucherov has time to rest.
3 full weeks to just chill. Point is gonna now hang out and recover. Like there's gonna be a lot of guys getting healthy, and mainly just him getting rest. I think he's gonna, hopefully it doesn't
that extra step on him.
Hopefully it just gives him that boost instead of kind of disrupting the momentum he's got right now. But he's been playing crazy.
Next, the Ottawa Senators find a way to get consistent goaltending and come back to make the playoffs. As of right now, they're 8 points back of Boston.
That is a great hockey team. They need 895 goaltending, and they make the playoffs from here. I think they're a really slept on team. Linus Ullmark, the vibes are back. He's playing well. I think he's going to keep doing well, and they're going to get back in it, which is crazy because who the hell are they supposed to knock out of the playoffs?
Yeah.
Someone's
going to have to go up. Next one we got here, the New Jersey Devils fire both head coach Sheldon Keefe and general manager Tom Fitzgerald before the draft, we'll say. It's going to say season's end, but by the draft. Both the head coach and the GM.
I'm going to bail on that just because teams very rarely fire both at the same time. I think they should, but I don't think they will. I would like them to just get a new head coach and a new GM, though. I think they're underperforming way too hard. even if Jack Hughes played 0 games, they should be above where they are right now. Like they've still got a really good squad the rest of the way through.
Next one we got here, a player not named Connor McDavid or Nathan McKinnon will lead the Olympics in scoring. When I say scoring, just overall point totals, not just
overall
scoring
points.
Goals.
Yeah,
overall points.
Well, it sounds crazy, but also, who led 4 nations in points? I'm pretty sure it was Zach Werenski. Not only not on Team Canada, a defenseman. I think one of them is going to get it.
All right, nice and simple.
I don't even know which one, but
just either one, yeah. The LA Kings make a small comeback to make the playoffs because they're not very far out of it. So they make the playoffs, and not only that, they actually win a round.
Oh, I would have to look at the standings, but I'm not going to. No, I don't see it. I think there's a good chance they get back into the playoffs with this Panarin trade. But they're in the Pacific.
They don't get over the hump of winning a round.
They're playing the Oilers, they're playing the Golden Knights, or they're playing a wild card team from the Central, maybe? Like, there's not a lot of matchups that I can think of teams that are also realistically in the playoffs that I favor them. Maybe they beat the Mammoth if the Mammoth are in. That'll be a close series.
But I doubt those two teams even face each other.
Yeah.
Because I mean, LA's got to win the
Jets get in. Yeah.
Next one up, the New York Rangers finish bottom 2 in the league. So basically, it means they'll finish below both Calgary and St. Louis by the end of the season.
Well, actually, I was going to initially say no, because what keeps teams from bottoming out more than anything? In my opinion, it's good goaltending. But then I remembered Shesterkin is injured, and the Flames have Wolf, and Cooley's been great this season. Nobody's catching Vancouver for bottom of the league, I don't think. Vancouver would have to get hot, and the other team would have to go winless.
Yeah.
Bottom 2? I think there's a good chance, but the Blues have been more active selling. But I mean, they just trade Panarin. You know what? I could see it. I'm going to buy on it.
Buy? All righty.
I think that's a bad freaking team, and I think guys like Coronado are going to keep Calgary just above them.
The Columbus Blue Jackets pull off a big move at the deadline. And so when I say big move, it means they're giving up high value stuff to acquire a big name player.
I'm going to buy on that. I don't know how big of a player necessarily, but this team seems done with the rebuilding phase. And doesn't matter where they are in the standings, they know they're better than this. They are also winning at an insane rate under Bones ever since Rick Bowness got hired.
11-1.
11-1. Like they're on an absolute tear up the standings.
Yeah.
So there is an argument for don't change a thing, you're winning. But, maybe they're like, let's see about Nazem Kadri or something. Let's take a look at some of these guys that are potentially available, and I think they have plenty of assets to do it.
And the last one here, despite everyone thinking they will have a bottom 5 finish in the league this season, the Pittsburgh Penguins shock everyone and are back in the playoffs once again.
I'm buying on that. These Penguins are for real, and they're making the playoffs. Crosby won't be denied again. Good.
Yeah, all right. Nice and easy there.
But I want to throw out Kyle Dubas. He's done a nice little job in there.
He's made
a lot of people
moves.
Don't like what he's done in Pittsburgh, but bringing in guys like Chinnikov and
Anthony Mantha, Brazeau,
Ben Kindle's been really good for them.
Yeah, kind of taken a bit of a reach, as a lot of people thought on Ben Kindle, who's been phenomenal for them. He's made some good moves. It's hard to criticize, him right now with where the team's at. But we are at the end of the episode here. Yeah, that was the last one. So
I've got one for you, and I guess this one's more open ended. I don't have a specific person in mind, but I just want to throw out there to you. Who do you think right now, gun to your head, is the front runner for the Jack Adams? Since we were talking about GMs.
For the Jack Adams. So I guess because I should clarify who's gonna win or who I think should.
Let's hear an answer for both, I guess.
Oh boy!
But
take a quick look.
To start the season, for me, it was really between Quenneville in Anaheim or Torigny in Utah, and neither of those are looking exceptionally likely right now.
Yeah, like they're out of the running. For who I think might actually win, I'm gonna go with Lindy Ruff, solely because the way they give out the Jack Adams, it always goes.
I forgot he wasn't on the Devils for a second.
Yeah, it always goes to the coach that the team outperforms what was expected of them. And I think we've reached a point now where it doesn't matter who it is. Whoever's the coach when Buffalo makes the playoffs is going to get it because they were the one to get the team back in the playoffs after all these years. So going to ref for that. Who I think should. It's hard not to just say the obvious one and just go with Jared Bednar for the insane season that the Avs are having.
One thing that I'm hearing a lot more now than I've heard in past seasons, there's a lot of steam around John Cooper, and I can't tell if it's a legacy type thing or if it's because the Lightning are doing so good with the injuries we've had, mainly on the blue line. But I've heard stuff about that. And who is it? Is it Dan Hinote in Pittsburgh?
Dan Muse.
Or I'm Dan Muse. Dan Hinote is the new defensive coordinator for the Lightning. I keep getting their names mixed up. Dan Muse. In
Dan Muse, yeah, I think is someone who's definitely going to be in it. Absolutely, his name continues to be thrown around.
If I was putting money down, I think I would put it on him because I would have been more. If you told me before the season that the Sabres were making it, and then you also told me the Penguins would make it, I'd be more shocked about the Penguins, given where they were going. Like they were the only team. They were one of one in the league at the start of the year that said we're selling and not trying to win. The fact that they're in the playoffs is pretty crazy.
It's a good point. Absolutely.
The Sabres have always had a good roster here. They just can't win.
Yeah.
But not saying Lindy Ruff doesn't deserve it, but
finally starting to find a way, that's for sure. But we are at the end of the episode here. Once again, do want to thank all of you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Segment Podcast. If you want to talk hockey, let us know your thoughts on everything that's going on around the league. We are kind of all over the place with a bunch of different stuff between in the league and stuff with Gavin McKenna, even to some stuff with the Olympics and obviously the big Panarin trade. If you want to talk any of it or let us know your thoughts on it, you can do so through any of the socials down below or over on YouTube as well. Brayden, end of the week here. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming up here with the Olympics. We will have no NHL games on as of today, the day we're recording this. So one final time, as always, I'll ask you final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Do you still have your picks for the ultimate Canadian Olympian pulled up by chance?
I sure do.
For those still here listening, thank you for listening all the way to the end. And if you feel like it, put in either the comments or hit us up on socials who you think had the better creative player for that exercise. Once again, for mine, it was speed, Connor McDavid, hands of Mario Lemieux, the style of Joe Thornton, the IQ of Wayne Gretzky, which I believe we both had for those four. Yep. And then I had the toughness of Jerome McGinley, the heart of Sidney Crosby, the clutchness of Patty Waugh, and the shot of Steven Stamkos. What were yours?
And I had the heart was the same, Sidney Crosby. Toughness, I had Chris Pronger. Clutch, I had Mark Messier. And shot, Mike Bossy.
Yeah, so if you think it skews either way, maybe you have somebody who, somebody for IQ that neither of us put, or skating that we underrate, something like that. So leave some of that in the comments and on our socials, and yeah, enjoy the Olympic break.
Absolutely. We definitely will, and we'll have lots of stuff coming up for that, so keep an eye out for it. But that is it for this episode. One final time. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you lovely people out on the ice next week.